I know you're gonna dig this.
Whatever it takes.
Birds just keep on winning.
This is highway robbery at the center.
You gotta believe.
And he struck out this time.
Unity is adversity.
Perfect jump, and he made a perfect catch.
Refuse to lose.
Strike three swinging.
United we play. United we win.
Deep right field. Another absolute bomb over the flag court.
We are family.
Outstanding effort again.
We're busting ours to kick yours.
That's big time.
-15.
Respect all, fear none.
Oh, did he belt that one?
Intensity is not a perfume.
It was a no-doubter.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome into MASN All Access, presented by the Maryland Lottery. We're breaking down our rankings of the top 50 players in the Orioles organization. I'm Brendan Mortensen, joined by our MASN Orioles insider, Steve Melewski. And Steve, just as we did last time when we revealed players 50 to 41 on our rankings, we want to reiterate this is not where we think they will be in the future. We're not basing this off of their potential, but just where they are right now. So that's taking into account their age, where they are in the minors, everything like that.
I mean, it's a good list, the group of players we're going to talk about. It's a mix of some veteran guys, some of which have already done some nice things for the Orioles, and some guys we haven't seen yet who are going to be exciting to see and potentially be here later this year. So some good names here.
Well, without further ado, let's get to our rankings of players 40 through 31 in our top 50 players in the organization, starting with number 40 in Cade Povich, the Orioles' 11th ranked prospect in their top 30. A few top prospects there from AA Bowie in Kobe Mayo and Heston Kjerstad, and then kind of a mix of pitchers who have bounced in between AAA Norfolk and the big leagues in Drew Rom, Spencer Watkins, Nick Vespi, Keegan Aiken, and Cole Irvin. And then at the top of our rankings here to round things out, Connor Norby comes in at number 32, the second baseman at AAA Norfolk. And then Jordan Westberg, the Orioles' number 3 prospect, currently has an OPS over 1,000 in his 40 AAA games to start the season so far. So, Steve, let's start breaking these players down a little bit. Starting at number 40 with Cade Povich. As I mentioned, the Orioles' 11th ranked prospect in their top 30, one of the better pitching prospects in the organization. What do you think Povich's upside is?
I think he could be a rotation guy. I mean, maybe he's a back-end guy. He's not a hard thrower. But, I mean, this guy right now at AA Bowie is averaging 14 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's ridiculous. He's pitching to a high 3 ERA as we tape this. And, I mean, we saw in spring training he had some really nice outings. And you can see it's just a clean, polished delivery. Pitchability is big for this guy. When the Twins drafted him in the 3rd round in 2021 out in Nebraska, he was called a very polished college pitcher, and that's what the Orioles are seeing. They were very high on him, that trade late last year, and I don't think he's disappointed them at all since he got here.
Now, another player who has put up really impressive numbers so far at AA Bowie is Heston Kjerstad. We know the organization hasn't wanted to rush Kjerstad. Where do you think Kjerstad will be in a few weeks? Because right now he is hitting extremely well for the Bay Sox with an OPS over 1,000. How long will he stay there?
I mean, I don't know that answer, but I will say that there's no doubt he gets to AAA this year, and he's probably just about ready for that. But there's still things he can gain with AA reps, and we're here seeing first base, where he's played some first base this year. That's been a new wrinkle there. But this guy really knocked off the rust, I think, Brendan, late last year. I saw him play in the playoffs for Aberdeen. He was hitting rockets then, so it didn't shock me that he went to the Fall League. It kind of did surprise me that he was AFL MVP. He was the best player in the league, or one of them. And the guy just has the big power. We saw it in spring training. He tied for the Oriole team lead in spring training with 4 home runs. He can hit it out from foul pole to foul pole. And to me, it's remarkable when you consider he went 27 months between his last game at Arkansas and his first pro game because of the myocarditis and the hamstring issue he dealt with. He's healthy now, knocking on wood, hard for Heston the rest of the way, because this kid's going to be in the major league someday.
And now, Steve, I want to talk about some of the pitchers that were kind of in that jumble in the middle of these rankings here. First one being Drew Rom. He has put up some excellent numbers at AAA Norfolk right now. Just 23 years old, was briefly called up to the big leagues, didn't make his major league debut. But do you think that gives you a pretty good indication of how the organization feels about Drew Rom right now?
Yeah, I think we got our indication in November of 2022 when they put him on the 40-man, and they realized they want to keep this guy. They didn't want a team be able to take him in the Rule 5 draft. I mean, a high draft pick in 2018 by the previous Orioles organization. Gary Racich made that draft pick, but I mean, this is a top 30 pitcher. It's a polished pitcher. I think his velocity at times has ticked up a little bit the last year or two. We can see him touch 93, 94, maybe even he gets a little more. But his ability to drop down low three-quarter against left and right has been so big for him in the last few years. He will throw from a couple arm slots, and it's been very effective for him. He can do it against left and right, and he's having a good, strong year at AAA. So I think we see him again later this year in the big leagues. He got that first taste out of the way, makes him hungry for more. He didn't pitch, but I think we're going to see him pitch in the big leagues this year.
Now coming in at number 33 and 34 was Cole Irvin and Keegan Aiken. Two guys that I think going into the year we probably anticipated would have larger roles at the big leagues. They're both down in AAA Norfolk right now. What do you expect the plan to be for those two guys?
I mean, right now they're depth in this organization, but I think Cole Irvin, we can't forget that last year for Oakland, the guy threw 180 innings to a 3.98 ERA with a 1.8 walk rate. All three of those numbers will play for the Orioles and may well this year. I don't think we've seen the last of Cole Irvin. He quickly became a favorite in the clubhouse. He fit in so well with his team. He and Kyle Gibson were leading that pitching staff in spring training and early in the year, and then Cole all of a sudden just didn't pitch well. And he had to kind of reset himself at AAA, and he did. So we've seen him back briefly in the big leagues. He only pitched a couple batters. And you need so many, Brendan, over 6 months. You need so many pitchers. Who knows? This guy could be pitching some of the biggest games of the year later this year. We just don't know what August, September, and October are going to look like for the Orioles this year. But Cole Irvin still could be a big deal in this thing.
Now, of course, we have to talk about Jordan Westberg, who comes in at number 31 on our rankings. Probably the only reason he's number 31 right now is simply because he's not on the big league roster. But he has an OPS over 1,000 at AAA Norfolk, has close to 40 games there this year, got a ton of experience at that level last year. The big question on everybody's mind, Steve, when could we see Jordan Westberg at the big league level?
Well, his production at AAA has been massive. I mean, this guy in 129 AAA games dating to last year has a 913 OPS. He scored 100 runs. He's driven in 116. He has hit 30 homers in 129 games. He seems ready. So the question is, I think for the Orioles, you don't want to bring him to not play him. So maybe they're waiting for the time when there's a trade, there's an injury, there's a reason to give him every day at bats. And so that's the question for some of these prospects. Fans tell me, isn't he better than so-and-so? Maybe, but the other player is more suited to a bench role. So that what the Orioles want is these players to come up and have instant success. It doesn't always happen, and sometimes it does with Gunnar, and then you have ups and downs the next year. So we're going to see how they handle Jordan Westberg, but there's not much more the guy can do at AAA. His production has been massive. He can play multiple positions, and that's another question. When they bring him, where's he playing? Is he going to play a little here, a little there? I mean, he's good at all of them. I've seen him be good at second, short, and third. He's even played a little outfield. So Jordan Westberg is now number 50 MLB pipeline. He's earned that. He might even be better than that. Might be better than top 50. And so now, when is he going to see the major leagues? We're all waiting to get that question answered.
Yeah, really good problem to have if you're the Orioles organization trying to figure out where you want to put Jordan Westberg. But our top 50 rankings have been presented by the Maryland Lottery, which is celebrating its 50th year. And each game, a Maryland Lottery Fast Play Home Run Riches contestant of the game is selected. The contestant of the game wins $500 from the Maryland Lottery just for being selected. Then an additional $500 for each Orioles home run that game. And to commemorate the Maryland Lottery's 50th anniversary, the contestant of the game when an Oriole hits the 50th home run of the 2023 season will win $50,000. We actually saw that just the other week, as the Orioles have been on a torrid pace at the plate. And a second $50,000 will be awarded to someone who enters the contest in a special drawing to be held in August. For a chance to be selected as a Fast Play Home Run Riches contestant of the game, enter Fast Play Home Run Riches game tickets into My Lottery Rewards. Visit mdlottery.com/homerun for details. Well, as we mentioned, Cade Povich, who came in at number 40 on these rankings, has been striking out everybody in AA Bowie. Earlier on this season, I broke down some of the keys to Povich's success.
He came back in spring training this year, and I liked him, but next thing you know, his fastball went from like 92.5 to 95, and then I loved him. Lefty with command, and then all of a sudden he's throwing 95 is a game changer. You know what I mean? That's a real big league starter.
Left-hander Cade Povich has been generating a ton of buzz this offseason. The centerpiece of the Jorge Lopez trade allowed just one earned run in spring training, and he struck out over 12 batters per 9 innings in his minor league career. Recently ranked the 54th best prospect in baseball in ESPN's Top 100, the ceiling for Povich could be even higher than we thought. But make no mistake, Povich isn't content with that ranking.
Kind of puts a fire in my butt just from all the other ones that didn't put me on it. But again, at the end of the day, it's not about the list. It's about continuing to progress, continuing to develop.
When the Orioles traded for Povich at last year's deadline, the lefty didn't have the best ERA. He did sport a nearly 32% strikeout rate while keeping the walks down at 7.7%.
First thing is command. I think it really impressed me that he could throw any pitch in any count. A ton of feel for his off-speed stuff.
The former Nebraska standout was pegged as a back end of the rotation starter with room to grow. Getting your fastball up to 95? That'll certainly help raise the ceiling of a pitcher.
Every pitcher's always trying to throw harder. I definitely think out of college it was an emphasis, but a lot of it was work on mechanics, getting in the weight room, just continuing to mature, fill out a little bit.
The guys out there throwing 95 with that big physical body, feel for off speed, I got super excited. I'm glad he's on this team.
A higher velocity fastball complements an already impressive 5-pitch arsenal. A plus changeup and a big sweeping slider work off the heater, as well as a curveball and a cutter. Now, the lefty was hit hard in 6 games in Bowie last season, a 6.94 ERA in just over 23 innings. But it was his first full season in the minors, which is a big adjustment for anyone to make.
First year being super long, so I think I was able to take what I got at the end of the year into the off season, bring that towards like mental stuff, finding the right workload as far as what's going to take me throughout an entire season.
Now, Povich's off-season work has certainly seemed to pay off so far. He was turning a lot of heads at big league camp, getting valuable experience against big league hitters. And off the mound, getting to learn from veterans can be invaluable.
I think the biggest thing I got, there's a lot of obviously facing the big hitters, throwing live to like Mateo and Adley, and then getting into those games as well. I think the biggest part for me, though, was being able to see the older guys like Gibson, Wells, and all them, how they work throughout their routine, how they take it day to day, and ultimately get like an insight on what it's like to be a true big leaguer.
Now, Povich is just entering his age 23 season here in Bowie, and if his fastball continues to trend up, his ceiling could be too. A lot of promise there for Cade Povich. And Steve, next time when you're back on this show, we'll be looking at players ranked 30 through 21. Could be seeing some names like Colton Cowser, Kyle Stowers, Joey Ortiz on that list.
Those are pretty good names right there.
Pretty good, yeah.
In case you guys haven't heard, the Orioles have the #1 farm system in baseball, and they're proving it by having young players win at the major league level, and they haven't even emptied the cupboard yet. They haven't come close to emptying the cupboard. So this is such a great situation for this organization, having all these prospects to either help the big league team or maybe make some deals later, having a lower end payroll, maybe they can take on some salary later in the year. They're just positioned well to do things to help their major league team take this great season they're having, Brendan, and ride it as far as they can go.
A lot of exciting young players that we'll get the chance to continue to break down here on MASN All Access, which is, of course, presented by the Maryland Lottery, celebrating 50 years of fun and games. Big thank you to Steve Melewski, our MASN Orioles insider, for joining me, and a big thanks to Matt Bonaparte, our producer. We'll catch you next time.